Last year, more than 280 people were killed in Alabama due to our substandard roads. There's no excuse. It's time to get to work on repairing our roads. Support Governor Ivey's bill to rebuild Alabama.
Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, a straight lottery? Also, the V-Team takes a look at a Jones-Moore rematch. And some Republicans are not happy with Kay Ivey's infrastructure plan.
Are you ready? Yeah! Light your torches and go!
They don't scare Kay. Nah, not a bit. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome all.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Chip, nice to see you back.
It's been a little minute.
It is.
But we're
We
glad
didn't miss you at all.
Well,
Didn't miss you either, Josh.
y'all speak for yourself. Well, you just did speak for yourself, didn't
Yeah,
you?
we did.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
This week, Josh, Governor Kay Ivey introduced her infrastructure plan, and it was received well by some folks.
Mm-hmm.
Other folks, they have gotten their pitchforks out and the torches and all that. They're ready to storm the State House. But the interesting thing to me was she announced the plan. It's 10 cents over the next, 3 years, Susan? 6 cents, two. And the thing that most telling to me is that Del Marsh, Senate President Pro Tem, and Mac McCutcheon, Speaker of the House, standing next to her. But there's a lot of opposition out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And really, the Democrats in the state find themselves in the odd position of saying, whoa, what are you guys doing with all your taxes here? And, there were a lot of Republicans who were pretty angry. Almost immediately, you've had some resolutions put through at with the state party, state Republican Party, passed a resolution of, against the gas tax. There are several local county Republican Party deals out there that also voted against this thing. And so I think that you're going to have a pretty interesting split among people there that are for it and against it in the Republican Party. And so I think it sets up a pretty interesting dynamic, kind of like some of these other bills we had last year, where they're going to have to go and get some help from the other side of the aisle if they expect this thing to pass. And I don't know if there is that help there to be gained.
Susan, BCA, Katie Britt came out last week and said that industry needs this, businesses need this, the state needs this. We need to invest in infrastructure if we're going to grow the economy. This is the very thing that Governor Kay Ivey's been saying. And if you look at the numbers, the amount of jobs that are created by roads and bridges is phenomenal. I mean, about 1 million jobs right now depend on decent roads and bridges.
Yeah, and you can see the need throughout the state, and especially a lot in around the Black Belt area and different places. I know the roads that we all travel coming to and from Montgomery, while they're being repaired, there are a lot of, Chip and I were just looking at them tearing down the bridges in Birmingham, which is probably a good thing.
Finally got that one in Coleman fixed. Just want to let you know.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, you're right. There are a lot of jobs that depend on those things. I don't think that anyone disputes that. I don't think anyone on any side of this disputes that we have an infrastructure issue here. I think the problem comes in where you're going to get the money to pay for it.
That's right.
And that's where a lot of people have a lot of problems with what's taking place here now.
Look, I mean, I think what you said about needing Democrats to do this is going to be really interesting to see what Democrats are willing to support it, because that would just go directly against what their whole message is that they're working for working people and low-income people. This is another tax, and the only taxes we've raised in decades have been regressive taxes that tax low-income people and working people more than people at the top. I mean, when you're spending more of your income on taxes, even if it's less money overall than richer people, that's a regressive tax, and that's what this is. And I think if you coupled this maybe with getting rid of the grocery tax or adjusting the sales tax or something like that, then maybe you could get it through. But I mean, that's really the only way I could see Democrats supporting something like this.
Well, and I tend to, look, I'm not a gambler, but I am for them opening up gaming in the state because the Porch Creek, we already have gaming. They're making $1 billion in profit a year, and they're taking it out of state or spending it on a few just people. And listen, I'm all happy for the Indians to make all the money in the world, but it should be competitive. The money, Josh, just in what we saw in the Dale Marsh plan from 2015, suggested as much as $350,000, $50 million in the first year.
Yeah, no, it'll be more than that. That was $400 million from the lottery. Then you had another 100 or so million that you could pull in from the casinos around. And I think it could actually be more than that. If you look at some of the surrounding states and do a comparable comparison to what Alabama could expect to bring in, I think it would be more of a nine-figure type of a take off of that. And I just, there are so many things that are going to have to take place between now and the end of this session, whenever this bill hits the floor to raise this gas tax. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be this 6-2-2 split. There'll probably be some negotiation that takes place along the way there, but they're going to have to drop some taxes, and they're going to have to figure out a way to appease a lot of people to do this.
Well, Chip, according to your reporting on studies, we need $600 million a year, basically, to do what we want to do with infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, like y'all are saying, the need is there. I mean, there are so many bridges that are older than 50 years old in this state, and bridges aren't designed to last that long. They have to be replaced. I mean, there's such a huge percentage of the roads that are poor or deficient. Depending on what studies you look at, we look better than some states and worse than other states. But if we want to make money, we have to spend the money on the infrastructure. But the question is, how do you get the money?
Right. Well, and remember, according to the League of Municipalities, on the studies they've done, even if we get the 10 cents on the gallon, we're 27 cents short on the gallon. So there's going to have to be another mechanism to cover that difference.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, if Josh is right and we can get around 500 to 600 million off gaming, we just paid it off.
I just think you're going to have a really hard time with any kind of gaming or gambling. People are going to want it to go to education. Yeah, because that's where it goes in every other state.
I think that's exactly what you're going to have to earmark it. You're going to have to earmark a gambling.
It's got to be earmarked, but I don't think it should be just for education.
But what's going to happen? Well, but the thing of it is what happens ultimately in all these cases is you earmark it for whatever, and then you pull all the money out of whatever you earmarked it for. So that's what has happened in several other states.
He's truthing over here.
You mean like how they pull money out of other agencies to give it to that agency and start crying broke over here?
Hey, that's all I do. Okay?
You're no Michael Cohen, I can tell you that, Buster.
I can't help it if you can't take the truth. I can't help it if you can't take the truth, okay? But I'm going to tell it to you. So, I mean, but yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. I mean, they're going to earmark it for something. They're going to pull it out of somewhere else.
They're trying to get this done in the first couple of weeks of session. Yeah. That is just, that is so ambitious, but
Well, ambition, they have never lacked ambition, but if you mistake ambition for accomplishment, you're going to be miserably disappointed.
Yeah. Having spent a little time in the State House, too, they can try to get it done in the first couple of weeks, but we all know this stuff drags on.
We all know nothing happens until the last 2 hours of session. The whole first half is
all right, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
What a great opportunity for your success. Adding 500,000 highly skilled employees to our workforce by 2025 is how we stay ahead in Alabama. Our economy is stronger than it's been in years, and a skilled workforce is more important than ever. Things move fast, so choose your path. Your success is waiting, plus a great future for Alabama. Success Plus. Go for it.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. Access to clean, affordable energy continues to be an issue of vital importance in the halls of government and around the kitchen tables across our nation. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
What are you doing today, babe?
I thought I'd head down to the lake with the guys, do a little fishing. Of course, none of us will be wearing our seatbelts. I'll lose control of the truck, wrap it around a tree, and kill us all.
Okay.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, this past week, Stephanie Bryant, the CEO, tribal chief of the Porch Band of Creek Indians, wrote an op-ed in the Montgomery Advertiser in which she said she was encouraging the legislature to have a vote on the lottery. She claimed that they've always supported a vote on the lottery, and she made some other claims. But then in the end, she said they would support the lottery, but they would not support any legislation that allowed for any expansion of private gaming or gaming interests, which means the Porch Creek is going to defend to the death its monopoly over gaming in the state. And I wrote that Stephanie Bryant and the Porch Creek Indians either think we're fools or jackasses, and we're neither one. We know what their game is.
My question is, why do we care what they think? They have sovereign immunity over their own tribal lands. We have no say over what they're doing. Why are they coming to our legislature and telling us what they will and will not accept in the things we want for our state? That's my question.
Because for the last 8 years, the Republicans rolled over and they pet their bellies and given them money, Josh, and they do whatever they want them to do.
Yeah, through pack-to-pack transfers, which are now legal.
Yeah.
But, it's
Thank you, State Marshal.
It's everybody wants the Porch Creeks to do well.
That's
okay?
right.
Because, look, God knows the history there and everything that was wrong, all right? But there comes a point where you look at something like that and you think, man, kiss my ass. Really, it is. Look, you're doing well. You're doing very well, okay? You're spending $1 billion in other states to buy casinos, okay? You're doing very, very well. And in this state, you've paid nothing. Look, I know you've dished around some money to some schools here or there and paid $1 million here and $1 million there for some schools, and you built up the infrastructure around your reservation, which is all great and well and all, but throughout the state where your trucking company runs on all these roads and stuff, you've done nothing. You've kicked in nothing on all this stuff. So you're talking about a casino here, a private casino that's going to pay roughly 25% in taxes to state and local governments, all right? You're talking about Indian casinos that are currently paying zero. Then even if you come with a compact, they're going to pay somewhere around 5 to 10%.
So and you've written this, if there are private casinos, which there already are.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And there should be, because they had constitutional amendments, and I think these were wrongly decided. But again, if they bring a lottery bill, it should include these existing casinos, and the state was taxing them at about 24%, right?
Yes.
So that was real money.
Yeah.
The Porch Creek Indians have never paid a dime to the state of Alabama, and they don't have to, and we don't need their money, but we don't need them, sending Ambassador Robbie McGee up here any more than we need Kim Jong-un coming over here to tell us what he wants us to do in
Once
Alabama,
again,
Susan.
they're not contributing to what we're doing in the state. Why should they have a say in what we do with our own?
You know, if I was a
our own
chairman of
people?
a committee, and Robbie, I would go, Mr. Ambassador, what you're here representing the Porch Creek Nation, right? Sit your tail down.
Look, you know,
you don't like this attitude we're taking?
I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying, definitely, that they should not have a say over what's going on in our thing. But, I mean, they are controlled somewhat by what our laws allow in terms of the gaming machines, or they are supposed to be under ICRA.
Right.
Yeah,
But
that's national law, not state law.
But it's all such a huge mix-up right now. I mean,
yeah, it is a mix-up, and that's the very reason why they're for a lottery, okay? Because while it's mixed up to everybody, and it's a really complicated situation, everybody knows that if we pass a lottery, everybody that is in that world knows that if we pass a lottery, it only benefits them.
That's right.
If it's only a
just
lottery,
a straight lottery,
straight lottery, it only benefits them. All right, because it cuts out basically everybody else from doing everything.
Yeah.
All right, and it allows them then to go in and get their Class 3 licenses for things if they want to pursue that. Or they can keep the status quo, which is working out pretty well for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and the reason they don't really want the table games and all that, they'll take them. But this is just hoodwinking the people.
Yeah.
They want a straight lottery because they don't want any competition. Then they want to force a compact with the state so that they can be sure that they're legitimate.
Yes.
I mean,
and the reality of a straight lottery is that the state's not going to make any money off that without scratch-offs and all the other electronic.
Well,
they're going to do the scratch-offs. But what they want to do, they want to do a straight lottery without the casino games.
Yeah.
Okay, so they want it without the casinos that are over there. And that then also benefits Porch Creek because, as has happened in other states, they can then go, and as part of that compact with the state, they are guaranteed to be able to sell those scratch-offs and have those video lottery terminals, and then bypass everybody.
Meanwhile, nobody else has.
Nobody else has.
I mean, there's a thing called iLottery that you put on it's an app, and it checks your age and all that stuff, and it is making a lot of money. But those video terminals, those that basically just scratch it off, that's where the money is right now.
Yes, it is.
And the Porch Creek know that.
Yeah. And look, I don't care if they make billions of dollars.
I don't either.
I don't care.
I hope they do.
Yeah, but what I want is for us to make billions of dollars and for us to pay the taxes on those billions to go to pay for all of the problems that gambling causes and all of the other benefits that you get from gambling.
Let's get honest with ourselves here. It's not that we're creating new gaming in Alabama. People are already playing the lottery, but they're playing it in other states. And so we're losing a lot of money to other states. It's not going to stop people doing the lottery.
Sitting at this table right now, I can place a bet on any ball game that's going to take place tonight. Right now, I can do that. So this idea that it doesn't exist or that it's not currently legal in 3 casinos in the state is so absurd that I don't even understand what you're arguing anymore.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you got just a small handful of folks that want to come out and they will torture the scriptures.
Because it's a moneymaker for them.
Because they don't want you gambling. They don't want you. Listen, I can make a moral, ethical argument why gambling's bad, why you shouldn't do it. But, you know, to torture the scriptures to get there and to torture your fellow man.
They don't care.
I mean, it's just another example of the people being fooled by that kind of rhetoric.
Yeah, right. And you know, Alabama is, we always call it the make me state. We're also, Alabamians are very, you're going to tell me what to do? I don't think so.
Well, do the churches, do they preach that before or after the bingo game?
I don't know. We're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. You know, you never sing Jesus paid it all before the altar, before you pass the plate around. Y'all are so bad. All right, we'll be right back.
Hey man, what are you doing today?
Playing the game. Thought I'd go out for a drive later maybe. Text some friends while I'm doing it. Scroll through social media. Kill a family 4 and a head on Collision.
Cool, man.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
A lot has changed in Alabama since 1992. One thing hasn't: funding for our roads. Other states have passed us by and we are falling behind. It's time to rebuild. Support Governor Ivey's bill to rebuild Alabama.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Chip, you've had you started some firestorms over the last few weeks. One, you outed Mr. Goodlow Sutton for being a racist, and that went all over the world.
Kind of outed himself on that one, I think.
He did publish it.
Well, I think Goodlow might have outed himself on that one.
Well, he did, but you found it and you reported it, and my favorite, though, the greatest exit line of any racist ever: I'm going to go drink beer and sex women.
Sex young
women.
Not text. Not sexed. Just sex.
Sex young women. I don't even want to know how that is all about. I don't really.
That was the weirdest conversation I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you spoke with Senator Doug Jones this past week, and he gave you an exclusive first on his attempt to bring some changes to Medicaid, which I'll let you explain.
Mm-hmm. So he's dropped this bill that's essentially an effort to coax Alabama into expanding Medicaid. What it would do is, so basically the way Medicaid was set up was from 2014, for the first couple of years, the federal government was going to pay all of the costs of expanding Medicaid. And then starting in 2016, it was gradually going to go down and level off at 90% of the cost by 2020. And that is not great for states that waited around and haven't expanded Medicaid, because that was a set timeline. Like, if you didn't expand on that timeline, you didn't get the full reimbursement for the first couple of years. The way this bill would work is essentially give states like Alabama and the 14 other states that haven't expanded Medicaid an option for a second chance to go back and say, yeah, we'll expand Medicaid now, and they'll still get that 100% funding on that same timeline, just based off of whenever they start expanding Medicaid.
So, and help me understand here. So the federal government would pay 100% of expanding Medicaid, and that gives the states time, because state after state has seen when they expand Medicaid, they create jobs, they bring in more taxes, more money and all that. So this gives you time to build up your coffers so that when you have to pay the 10%,
There have been studies from UAB that show that even if 340,000 people get onto Medicaid with expansion, after you start bringing in the money from new tax revenue, most of the cost the state would ever have to pay would be made up with that extra tax revenue from the new jobs that you're creating. And in a lot of small towns where hospitals are the main economic driver, I mean, you're pumping money back into those places, and especially places where their hospitals have closed because we didn't expand Medicaid.
Now, didn't I see in your article, too, where actually the revenues raised were more than what the cost was for the match in Medicaid in some cases?
Depending on the study, yeah, that could happen. I mean, especially the first couple of, if the way the bill works, for the first 3 years, you would get 100% funding from the federal government. They would pay all the costs of expanding Medicaid. After that point, you would be making up money with tax revenue. I mean, studies have said that there would be probably more than $2 billion in economic growth every year just because of expanding Medicaid.
And Josh, the reason they don't want to expand it?
It's because it's called Obamacare.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you do the math on all of this, and it's absurd. It really is. It's absurd that we're still sitting here. I mean, even without the 2 years at 100%, it's absurd that we're sitting here without having done this. But if you factor in all of that, and then you add in, I mean, look, I understand all the economics are great, but you also save a lot of lives. That matters to you, of people that are in your states, of human beings that are here with us every day. You save their lives, you make their lives easier. You end a lot of suffering for a lot of people that are out there right now that are going through basic illnesses and have no means about going to the doctor to be able to pay for this to get themselves treated. Something is just your common illnesses there that you go to the doctor for. These people let it go. And it builds and it builds and it builds until eventually they wind up in an ER. And guess what? You end up paying for it anyway.
Well, I'm sorry. And when you're talking about just general illnesses, you're also talking about things like the flu, which causes epidemics because these people are not being able to be treated and spreading it to the rest of us.
I mean, at this point, we have missed out on $14 billion in federal funding because every dollar the state at this point would pay into it, we'd get $9 back. I mean, that's what the 90% funding means. So we're missing out on all of this money that could help people.
He's trying to do Republican speaks here. You're over here talking about lives. We're talking about billions of dollars, baby.
We're missing $9 for every dollar.
Listen, I understand. I know how the game works and how you get it passed. I'm just saying if it matters to you.
I truthfully feel that there are some very good Republicans in our state that would like to see us expand Medicaid. And I think it all comes back down to politics and who's running for office right now.
I guarantee you if it was on a ballot referendum in November, it would pass because there are so many Republicans.
It would get a lot more votes than Del Marsh will get for senator.
Yep. Well, I want to move on. Chip, another one you causing trouble, really causing trouble. Doug Jones, Senator Doug Jones, called out Roy Moore and said if Moore thinks the Senate race was stolen from him a couple of years ago, then he needs to jump right back in the race.
I talked to him about that on the phone too, and you know, it was funny. He was like, "Yeah, I'm ready to do this if he's ready to do this again." I mean, that would be his best case scenario, is if Roy Moore gets back into this.
I hope Roy brings his little small gun back to
Susan, I mean, the only chance Doug Jones has of winning
is if Roy Moore jumps in and splits that
Don't discount all the
Republican
other
ticket.
crazy people.
I don't know about that.
Well, somebody told me the other day that Jim Ziegler got the biggest standing ovation at the Republican winter dinner.
Congratulations, Republicans.
That would
well
be
played.
the second most interesting race. Yeah. Roy Moore ×2 would be pretty.
And I like Jim Ziegler. I do, but bless his heart.
I like Jim Ziegler fine, as if he were like my neighbor or something, not as an elected official.
Would you talk over the fence and everything?
Yeah, as long as there was a fence in between us, we'd be fine.
See his ties, right?
I do like Jim. I do.
I do too.
mean, he's crazy.
You know what I say?
It's nuts.
In
man.
Alabama, he's not the only one.
I think Roy Moore should run, and I think it'll be great. I think
he's out there promoting tweets, sending out emails, saying, "I'm going to be with you to the end." You guys, I'm telling you.
Okay, and so
I'm not going to bet on it.
We only got 30. We only got 32 seconds. Bradley Byrne is definitely in. We're hearing Gary Palmer's wanting to get in. Glenn Murdoch, former Supreme Court Justice. Dale Marsh basically in. John Merrill's a possibility, and Will Ainsworth is in. I think if that's the field.
Will Ainsworth is in?
No, I said
He's
he's
been
thinking
talked
about getting in.
It's been talked about.
I think Moore gives them all a run for their money.
Oh, heck
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
he would.
Well, I think first of all, I think he should just run as an independent.
You really want to split the ticket? Well, we're going to leave it right there. That's some shenanigans right there.
He's been saying that piece.
You've been watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.